let's go with the old man advice here. So, today's family life segment from Randy White, Practical Parenting and Relationship Advice. Parent writes in, says, hey, I got a one almost 2 years old starting to hit, push, take it, say it's mine. And they're in daycare, and the daycare worker can't really do corporal punishment without parental consent. What do you think about corporal punishment? Okay, let's stop right here before we look into the letter of consent and just talk about corporal punishment for a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old. Let me say that I think, and this is not a popular idea today. Used to be, everybody held this idea. But I think corporal punishment, that is, whether it's a little slap on the hiney or on the wrist or a little, thump on the head, whatever it is the way to train your child about behavior that is unacceptable. Now, I know that there are a lot of parents out there that say, oh, wait, bald-headed preacher. If we hit our kid, that teaches our kid to hit. No, it doesn't. Your child's brain doesn't work that way. Your 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old's child brain doesn't work that way. Your child's brain works in such a way that if I do something and it hurts, I don't do that anymore. And what you want to get is to, I don't do that anymore. That is so much easier when they're 1, 2, 3. Now, here's another problem with corporal punishment as it's thought of today. Parents, for some reason, many parents, many modern thinking parents, have come to think that corporal punishment is some kind of abuse. What they think is corporal punishment is taking a 2x4 like this and bopping that kid, just like that. So that everything, and that's their view of corporal punishment. Listen, nobody but child abusers does that. Corporal punishment is take the little boy's hiney and go like that. That didn't hurt me, it wouldn't hurt you, it wouldn't hurt anybody. But it is enough for a 1-year-old to say, oh, wait a minute, I'm not doing that anymore. Whether it's on the hiney, which, God has given us a lot of cushion there for perhaps for a reason, or on the wrist, or, my corporal punishment when my kids were growing up, honestly, was this little thump on the head. And they were scared to death of a thump on the head, like it was going to require a call to 911 and a trip to the emergency room. Look, I don't know that I even thumped them on the head more than 4 or 5 times in their life. And then after that, all I had to do was put up the thump finger and boom, they were ready to behave. And they behaved to this day. And it did them no harm. And the amazing thing happened is my kids, when they were, 10, 12, 13, 14 years old, or 16, 17, and 18, they did not have the habit of going around and thumping everybody on the head, because this is what my dad taught me is if I don't get my way, I'm going to thump people on the head. They were not head thumpers. So you thumping them on the head, slapping them on the wrist, give them a little slap on the hiney is not going to destroy them for life. What it's going to do is teach them who's boss. And it is so important to learn who's boss when they're 1, 2, 3. I think the 3rd year is actually the probably the most fundamental year in a child's behavior. I've only raised 2 kids and seen 100 of them raised, but I'm certainly not a childhood expert here. But I think that 3rd year, that's the year they really start to push the limits. That's the year they've kind of started to put some things together. They figure out, can I get away with it or can I not get away with it? So this parent is wise in saying, hey, my child's only 1 right now, about to be 2. What do I need to do? My child keeps, this is the age they start hitting, biting, pushing, throwing, having little fits. What a perfect time to help them. So, Let me say, first of all, okay, giving the daycare worker some permission to do that. Obviously, you would want to trust the daycare worker. And if you don't trust the daycare worker, find a different daycare or do something different. If you don't trust the daycare worker to give corporal punishment, then don't trust the daycare worker to take care of your child for several hours every day. But if you trust the daycare worker, they are a partner and can help you in this. But even more than that, if you can teach this at home, your daycare worker won't have to do much. Now, the problem is at home, sometimes there's not any other kids, or there's only a brother or sister, and the behavioral dynamics going on in there are different than when you get some friends in there, 3 or 4 or 5 friends in the room. So you may not have the same opportunity to do this at home, and it may be something that needs to be done on the daycare level. And I think a parent and a daycare teacher really ought to have some mutual understanding. So this parent sends me this letter of consent. I've only read the first paragraph. Let's go through and see if I like the letter of consent or don't like the letter of consent. It says, I, blank, the father of blank, let's call him Johnny. I, the father of Johnny, am given written permission to teacher to carry out corporal punishment and discipline for Johnny under the following circumstances. Johnny hits or pushes another child. Johnny scratches another child. Johnny steals from or refuses to share with another child. Okay, I like the specifics of that. Here's 3 places that you can do corporal punishment. Johnny, again, what is it? Johnny hits or pushes, Johnny scratches, or Johnny steals from or refuses to share with. These are things we want to train out of our child, right? We don't want our child to hit and push. We don't want our child to scratch. We don't want our child to refuse to share with another child. Now, let me say, you can counsel little 2-year-old Johnny all day long, and it's not going to help. Well, why did you feel like you needed to scratch your friend? Why did you feel like you needed? What's going on deep within your heart, little Johnny? Nah, that is psychobabble. It is not on the level that the child is. The child is on the level of, pardon me, Pavlov's dog. You learn what has a reward, you learn what has a pain, and you begin to do those things. And we teach those to our children as they are growing up. Okay, going on to the next paragraph. Corporal punishment will be limited to spankings on Johnny's posterior with an open hand only. Okay, defining how corporal punishment is. I like that. It's an open hand and it's on his hiney. Spankings can only be administered with 1 impact. Okay, that's it. You got an open palm on the hiney, boom, that's it. If Johnny continues with the behavior, a second impact may be administered. A swat to the back of Johnny's hand will also be allowed. However, the same stipulations will apply as with spanking. The swat must be with an open hand only and consist of only 1 impact. As stated previously, if behavior continues, a second impact will be permitted. All impacts should be significant enough to stop the behavior, but not excessive. If an impact results in a bruise, it is excessive. Okay, I agree with that. I don't know. I don't think that an open hand slap, and I might use the word slap because people do understand slap as compared to impact, a second impact. I might use the word slap because it seems to have a meaning to us that this is lots of skin hitting lots of skin. That's and doing it, kind of quick. It's a slap. I think I would probably use that word instead of impact. But and the problem is I don't think, and maybe some doctor or nurse could give me a word here. I don't think that in a healthy child, a slap would ever lead to a bruise. An impact might. And so you're saying, hey, there shouldn't be bruises here. I don't know if it needs to say what happens if there is a bruise, but nonetheless, you have said that's excessive. Okay. Furthermore, I must be informed of any disciplinary actions that take place. If evidence is found of this without my knowledge, this letter of consent is voided. I give this consent based upon my religious beliefs. He that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him betimes. Proverbs 13:24. Sincerely, good dad. I like it. I think you could take that, share it. Some daycares are just not going to allow it altogether, and that's probably because of fear of lawsuits and abuse that has taken place at some other times, perhaps. But I like it. Whether your child's in a daycare or not, the good thing, if your child's not in a daycare, you don't have to sign a letter of consent. You just do it. But even in that, sometimes the mom and the dad disagree on this. And so moms and dads sit, listen to this video, watch it together and say, okay, what's wrong? And analyze in your own life as a parent. Did I have any corporal punishment from mom and dad, or maybe even from the school? When I was growing up, the school did it, and there was no letter of consent. You sent your kid to the school. That was a part of it. And there were some standards that they went by, but, I remember sitting in Mr. Weingartner's office. I was always a good boy, but I sat in Mr. Weingartner's office and looked up at that board hanging on the wall, and that was enough for me to decide I am always going to be a good boy. Because corporal punishment was kind of a part of society. Well, we did not grow up to be hitters. We grew up to be, your parents. And your parents gave you some corporal punishment. It didn't hurt you. It only helped you. I think that if you ignore this corporal punishment, especially when they're 2, 3, 4, you've got a real uphill battle when they're 6, 7, and 8. You can still fix it when they're 6, 7, and 8. In fact, you can probably fix it in 30 minutes, but you can fix it in 2 minutes when they're 1, 2, and 3. So excellent. That is today's moment of family life, practical parenting, and relationship advice. You can submit your family life question at askthetheologian.com. Use the question button. And I appreciate all of that. Okay.